Good to go? Okay. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would remain standing just for a moment, as you remember those who have lost their lives overseas and those at home. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone here today. Any public comment on agenda items? No. Liaison reports. Treasurer. Fire?
Fire.
Hold on, we'll do fire first.
There are two agenda items, I believe, coming up later, but one thing of note is that the fire department has amended its bylaws, and instead of elections for line officers and administrative officers coming up in April, it's now more in tune with the normal year, and the first Tuesday in December will be the vote for new officers, which I believe means that we will have one more meeting with Chief Rush. So, no, this is your last meeting?
Oh, no, yeah, wait,
Yeah, I
one
think
more.
December 1st, you'll be here, so
Yep.
we'll thank you then. That's it until we get to the other items.
All right, Treasurer.
Hey, Mayor Board, a report for November. Today our auditors, Nugent and Hausler, arrived to start their village audit on the 2012-2013 books, and they pretty much spent all day here today. I spent the better part of the morning with them, and so far it looks like most of the information that they've been looking for is fine, and they seem to be moving along. They have a lot of work to look at. A lot of transactions, there's a lot of, the process takes quite a long time. They'll be here about 4 days, and then they'll probably spend the better part of a month to start digesting everything and then coming out with an annual report that should be ready early next year, okay? So if anybody does have any specific questions in relation to the auditors, certainly you can let me know or send me an email, and I'll be glad to follow up.
Excellent.
Second, monthly financial reports, the revenue expense control report I provided to the mayor. There's a board copy also, so that can be reviewed. And again, that's available on demand. So if any board members would like to see mid-month or any other types of specific transactions, that can be accommodated.
Ed, will that be accessible online? So if people at home want to see year-to-date figures, you know, a simple form?
Well, I think we could probably scan it and have it available online. We could look into that. It's not the easiest thing to interpret because there's a lot of information on there, and you have to some degree, know the different codes. There are some explanations next to the codes where you can pretty much figure out what the treasurer line is, what the board line is. But if you're not familiar with A is and what G is and what F is, it might be a little bit cumbersome. But certainly, if you feel that there's a need that people would like to see it, we could get it scanned and put it on.
Excellent.
I can't see why we couldn't. Okay, I'll just note that down. Okay, in financial transactions, last month I mentioned the wastewater treatment financing and the bonding documents that Jacobowitz and Gubitz had the board actually motioned on and had a resolution in April. I did check with Mr. Gubitz, and the documentation is a catch-all for serial bonds. So if it is a serial bond and the board is actually doing a bond anticipation note, it is still proper to use a serial bond notation. Okay, so the document that the board approved in April is fine, even though it's going to be a ban that you're going to be seeking most likely for financing for the wastewater. Okay, so and And Mr. Gubitz also provided some other information I thought was quite helpful in the bonding area, especially with the amount of bond and debt that we have. I think the more we get a handle on maybe ways to try to cut costs by the financing and by trimming, a basis point here and there would make a lot of sense. So I thought that was good. The last item is Senior Center Fund. As we did with the Independence Day Committee, my recommendation is the Senior Center Fund be handled directly by the village. I have no problem auditing those transactions. What I would request, though, that the board does the same similar motion like they did with the Independence Committee, so that there's essentially a tacit authorization for this process to go on for the senior center. Now, the senior center is going to be a large expense, and right now you're not really budgeted for anything past what's already transpired right now. So, like what's pleasantly being seen with the Independence Day Committee, where there's a lot of money coming in, which is very nice to see, maybe there'll also be a similar interest with the senior center, and maybe donations could end up coming in to help with some of the infrastructure stuff that's going on. Because again, the process of buying that building is largely a big first step. There's a lot of funding that will be needed down the road to make that building operational and habitable. And then with all the other things that I believe the board wants to do with that to make that a very vibrant location and entity, there's funds that are going to need to be acquired through either donations, grants, partnership with the town, or a variety of other things that might be able to get you there. Okay, so if that motion, simple motion, could be done by the board today, then I will set up the account tomorrow or this week with Chase to get the donation ability and the transaction ability to be started under the auspices of the village.
Excellent.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
I have a question. Is that all right?
Yes.
Keeping in the motto of trying to cut costs, I was going through the bills and claims this month, and I see that there's a bill in there from Ronald E. Klum, CPA, for professional advisory support for the village treasurer in regards to the preparation and filing of the annual updated document, or AUD, for the village's fiscal year ended May 31, 2013, for $2,500 for 23 hours that he put in.
Mhm.
Can you explain that anymore, or
Yeah, certainly.
where's it gonna get paid out of? What line item? Since it wasn't something that we would have
if you-
budgeted for?
Well, number one, it's in the budget. Number two, if you look at the
What would it be in the budget for? What would it be under?
audits,
It was an audit he did,
AUD is the annual update document. It's an audit.
but he performed an audit? Or he showed you how to do the AUD? Because I'm
He
just going off
assisted-
of what he said.
assisted with the AUD.
Assisted with the AUD,
Okay.
which would be quite normal and customary,
I've been on the board for-
especially since,
Well, I actually also had a question about that too, and so I looked back, and last year, for a similar thing, there is, Ralph had two different bills for a similar thing. One is $2,650, and another one was another $975, almost $4,000 total, for the 4 different meetings and assistance he needed to put together the reports.
So who did he meet with?
So I have that. Gubitz,
no, it's Nugent and
or
Hauser.
Nugent Hauser, I'm sorry,
Nugent
Nugent
Hauser.
Hauser. Our accountants.
It's very
And we were
typical
charged,
and
and we were charged
customary.
more
No, no,
because of it.
that last year, that had to do with the state audit. That did not have to do with the annual AUD filing.
It's a consulting response to
Well,
get assistance.
And I'm
Correct.
not trying to fight you on it, I'm just trying to simply explain that for 4 years, it never seemed to be a added expense that the treasurer did. He actually just did the report.
And there were a lot of amendments too,
Amendments to what?
to the report.
You mean for
Mistakes.
extension of
There's
the...
mistakes.
Mistakes.
But any
And
type
they did
of,
cost
every
us.
time the AUD was filed, it was done properly. You're telling me it wasn't filed properly?
I didn't say that, I said there are errors and you do amendments to errors. And
Okay.
because I was here without having been here for any transactions for 2012 through 2013, it would be very customary to seek support to make sure that what happened before I was even here is accurately detailed in this AUD.
I just think it's, and again, I'm not fighting you on it, I just think it's $2,500. And maybe there could have been another way, there could have been a different price structure to look at, maybe Nugent Hauser could have offered something at a reduced price.
The board hadn't decided on Nugent and Hauser at the time, so
But they were,
it wouldn't have
but
been
we
appropriate.
didn't decide that they weren't our auditors.
I could have went to Vanacore too, you know, it wouldn't be appropriate. And Mr. Klum actually has a very good rapport because he came to the town to review the town's issues
Yeah.
related to the AUD. So I believe personally, it's probably one of the best $2,500 this village has spent in a while. Because the response from the auditors today was quite good. They're very happy to
Yep.
see that there was a lot of advanced prep work done on the part of the village for the audit.
Nugent Hauser's been doing our audits for quite some time, and they've always been happy with what's come out of our offices.
I didn't say that they weren't unhappy.
You just implied that
I
things
said
seem
they
to
were
be
happy
going smoothly.
today.
Right.
Correct.
I met with him today, I was in the village hall, I saw him.
Good, good. So at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's money well spent.
I agree.
Your opinion.
I agree
That's my
that,
job, Mr. DeSalvo.
I agree that it's, it was also money well spent.
Looks like it's
Because
one
it is
job.
our, excuse me, I agree that it's money well spent because being the first year, this will be prepped every year now, and we have a lot more, knowledge to do it. It is in his budget, it's in the treasurer's budget, and that's where it came out of.
Mr. Mayor, I would also like to comment, Mr. DeSalvo, you have every opportunity to contact me at any point, other than board meetings. You can contact me at board meetings if you don't have an opportunity to talk to me beforehand. But I would have gladly sat down with you at any point to go over all
There
this.
was no need, it was in the bills and claims.
But this isn't anything new, so you could have brought this up earlier. at the
Yeah, that's
Chairman's
why I
meeting.
brought it up, because it is something.
Okay, but you can bring it up at any time, you don't have to wait for board meetings.
I can bring it up at the board meetings if I want to.
You certainly can, but I'm just
So what's the
recommending
problem?
that it would be
He's-
maybe.
He's
An
stating,
opportunity.
don't be antagonistic.
I'm
please.
not being antagonistic.
He's
I said
stating that you're
he
more
asked
than
if I
welcome-
haven't- Okay.
You're
you
more
talk
than
first.
welcome to
Ask questions? I did.
call Ed if you have any questions prior to the board meeting. Obviously, the board meeting you can. We're done with that discussion. Anything
Sure.
else?
No, pretty much, like I said, we'll be working with the auditors all week, and I feel that everything, that all the transactions and everything are moving along nicely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Wastewater?
For October, average volume of wastewater treated for the month is 696,000 gallons, less than an inch precipitation. Facility met all New York State DEC SPADES permit limitations. Pellwood Lake, wet lane pump stations, and Havens Road facilities are checked regularly and operating properly. Bell filter press in operation 9 days. 81 cubic foot of grit and screenings removed from disposal by TAM Inc. Chief Operator met with JAT contractor and Coaster and Associates supplier to discuss automatic grid removal system project. TAM Enterprises Inc. on-site working on primary digester mixing system project 4 days. Tri-County Electric on-site working for primary digester mixing system project controls, panels, etc. 2 days. JAT Construction on-site working an automatic grid removal system project 7 days. Eagle Fire and Safety performed annual inspection on all facility fire extinguishers, sanitary sewer systems. 2 men working 1 day with street department replacing crushed sewer main on Hudson Drive. Marked out 3 sewer laterals as for UFPL notices. 2 men working with the Earth Care Jet Vac crew cleaning and flushing various sewer mains throughout the village 4 days. Cleaning, scraping, painting the facility, the plant, 2 days. Maintenance, lubrication of pumps, motors, controls, machinery as required. Maintenance of buildings, grounds as time allows 25 days. Man hours lost due to sick, vacation, personal leave, and compensatory leave time, 7 days. Overtime work scheduled 42, emergency 2. Gas consumption 33 gallons. And that's it.
Building?
Your summary report was submitted by Mr. John C. Hager. 9 permit applications were received, 0 operating permits were issued, 2 certificates of compliance, 74 physical inspections performed, 6 of which were fire safety inspections. 29 complaints were opened, 0 of which were unregistered vehicles. 20 advisory violation notices and notices of remedy were issued. 9 periodic inspections were opened, 3 of which were landlord registration renewals. 4 municipal searches were completed, 0 zoning variants, and 0 planning board applications. I also spoke to Mr. Hagar about the 109 Center Street briefly. He said that he is working on trying to get a price for demolition that he would want to give to the board once he has it in his hand. He also touched base with the property management company that actually is now technically has ownership of 84 Mearns Avenue, and they want to have a meeting with him to see if they can remedy the building instead of demolishing it, which he seemed it seemed like a positive conversation that they had. And we talked briefly about something the mayor had brought up to him in regards to the signage. I think you had sent him an email, Pat, about the political signage and stuff, and he's looking into that and hopefully have something to the board at the next meeting.
Talked to Ben Gailey on that. He basically said that whatever we do for political signage has to be for all temporary signage. So if we put you have to give a deposit, any temporary signage, they have to give a deposit, not just political. If we put a time on it, all temporary signage has to be under the same law. So that's something we need to consider on what temporary signs are out there.
And real quick, that report I read was for September. There's a similar report that was given to the village board for October.
Okay, mayor's report. One, I'd like to congratulate all those that ran in the past election for the town. People may not understand how difficult it is to put yourself out there. I really want to thank everyone that ran, and I want to wish good luck to all those that are taking office, and wish them the best. Holy Innocents is having the Thanksgiving Day dinner. Reverend Judy is taking over the reins. If you would like to volunteer for Thanksgiving dinner, the number is 446-2197. That will be coming up shortly. So they were looking for a head count, not just for meals, but they're looking for a head count for volunteers. So if you're looking to volunteer, please don't zoom in, Kev. Please give Reverend Judy a call. Also, the food drive is underway. Bags were dropped off Sunday, today. Unfortunately, due to the weather on Sunday, several groups did not go out. So there will be groups going out tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday to drop off bags throughout the town for John and Pat's annual food drive. I would like to thank the Big Brothers and Big Sisters program and the cadets. They went out on Sunday in the rain. They said they had a great time, but they did the entire north end with bags, and I just want to thank them. We're going to have a good 8 or 9 other groups involved in the rest of the distribution of the bags as well as the collecting. If you would like to help, please call the Children's General Network at 446-2020. We can still use help this week in distributing bags. PTF has a box at Albert's, My Town Market, for the food baskets for the community. So if you are looking to help, please, that box is not that full. Head on over to Albert's, throw a few items in. They will be also working with the Children's General Network on the food drive, taking some of that for the baskets. Then they will turn that box into, and they will be accepting the toys for the toy drive. That we wanted to have it at another location as well as Village Hall, because there's only so many hours Village Hall is open. This way, if you can't do it till after work, you can still drop by 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night and drop something by the toy box. Christmas dinner. We have already got some people calling. I would like to thank Jeanette Scott and her family. They've already made the call, finding out what's going on with Christmas dinner. We are looking for volunteers as well as donations. So if you want to donate or volunteer, please call me at the at Village Hall. The November 23rd Vision is doing the decorating along Main Street. That's a Saturday. They're gonna begin at 8:30 in the morning. That's when they really need the majority of the people, because they have a small window of time to get all the stuff out of the bottom of the library and get it out onto the street. So if there's someone that's looking to do a little volunteering in town, November 23rd, 8:30, bottom of the library, and that decorating will go on all along Main Street and into the town. And I want to thank Bobby Pollock and the people of Vision for year after year making such a great Main Street for us. Two things I would like to set up, and I will take that in new business. One is the treasurer had mentioned, we need to set up a fund for the senior center so that we have an official area to accept the money. I would also, we're looking for volunteers for an ethics committee. So anyone that's interested in being part of the village ethics committee, please contact me at Village Hall. Okay. Also under the mayor's report, we have Memorial Park. I just wanted to get some feedback from the board members. Right now, it is split down the middle, town and village. We have been taking care of it for all the years. So I would either like the town to take it over entirely and start taking care of it, or us to take it over entirely because we're already taking care of it, rather than there be any confusion of where the line is drawn between town and village. Obviously, eventually, I would like to move all the parks under the town when they're ready for it. Because I would like them to be more of the whole recreation package, so that, being parks and recreation like most other communities, it really doesn't need to come through the village for permission. That's more of a recreation issue, and it's with the town. So that's just something I wanted to bring to your attention. I am going to work with Mr. Livesey on that, and then once we have a document, we'll bring it back to the village. Also, I've had several requests, and I wanted to get some feedback on possibly closing off at the bottom of Mountain Avenue, the top end of Veterans Way. Reason being, it would push more people into the village and into the business district of the village. Also, it would give, if we closed off the top, we have the possibility of creating 5 to 8 parking spots right up towards the top for that south end of Main Street. This is something that I just like to look into, no permanent structures or whatever. If we did it, we do a possible, maybe whether it's a day, a week, or 2 weeks period of just having the horses up to stop the traffic, to see, and then having someone there to observe, to see what, if there was a big tie-up, if there was an issue.
Football games, is that?
Well, there's a lot of different, ways. They also, the way they bring them down, is different. Now, that's the other thing, it's just something I'd like to look into. We've had several people ask to consider, so we can actually move more traffic through Main Street. I think that it's definitely something that needs attention, and that needs, our looking into. Also, our hazard mitigation plan, that, we'll discuss that when we talk about the rest of the engineering stuff later, okay? With the 4th of July, I received an invoice for insurance that came to the village. I would like the board's input on finalizing the books and just sending a certified letter to the 4th of July Committee Treasurer to finalize the books so that we know everything's good to go. Does anyone have a problem with sending a certified letter so that we can get an idea of the books and make sure that everything is good to go?
The insurance voucher that was received was for last year or this year?
It's for the coming year to redo the insurance.
so, but it was a renewal from past.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to get an idea of what is out there and make sure that going forward it is as transparent as possible.
I don't have a problem with the letter, I just, you know, if you wanna send it, that's fine. I don't understand what, if we got an invoice for the coming year from the old committee, it's immaterial, the new committee's gonna get insurance, right? Or they're gonna.
No, we got an invoice from the whole committee. We got an invoice from the company that provides the insurance,
For the,
that came to the village.
for the new year though,
Correct.
so we just wouldn't pay it, right? They just-
Correct, but that's part of the whole process of the village being the ownership of the committee, where we don't have any control of the books, but yet they're utilizing the village as their base. If they're gonna do that, then we need to see the books to make sure, because we're responsible. That's the bottom line. Because we're responsible, we need to know where the money's being spent. Okay, so, move on that.
Are you gonna move on that?
Do we need a motion for that, or can I just write a certified letter? You'd like a motion? Not a problem. All right, so you know what, we'll take care of these two real quick, and then move on to discussion. So can I have a motion to send a certified letter to the treasurer of the 4th of July committee? Former 4th of July, well, there's two different names, so there are new ones Independence Day to make it. But for the 4th of July committee to send a certified letter to get a copy of the books so that we may review them. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Do I have a second?
You do.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. Do I have a motion to set up a fund for the senior center in the town of Highlands? Is that correct, Ed? Is he still here?
In the village.
In the village of Highland Falls.
I make the motion that we set a fund for the senior center.
Motion by Bob Mellon, second.
I'll second.
Second by Charlie Murphy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now, that's official. That means you can start writing the checks. Okay, I know you've been waiting. If you want to deed over your house, fund is available. You can do that. Okay, moving on to discussion, which is another, we're gonna need another motion on. The I Donate group that came in a couple weeks ago, that gave us the 2 checks for the 2 groups in the village, are looking to possibly put 2 boxes in the village, on village property. The 2 areas that they were looking at, he was looking at several areas that were way too right in front of everybody, and that's not what we want. We don't want 50 boxes all over the place. But the 2 areas that he had asked to place these 2 boxes, I wanted to bring it up to the board to see if you were amenable toward that. The first is the Mearns Avenue parking lot, municipal lot up on Mearns. And the second is an area of our designation in the parks area. The Roe Park, Fickens, Little League area, which can be located towards the back. It doesn't have to be, again, sitting in front on anything. It will allow more access for more people to drop off goods, but the benefit is that you automatically get a fee from I Donate per box. The fee that was discussed was $50 per box. So that's $100 per month per box, $1,200 that we can utilize for whether it's seniors or whatever we want in the community. That's an extra $1,200 if you want that. I was very hesitant to put any more boxes up because of the look. We don't want to have 50 boxes up again. But the 2 areas that he had asked for 5 other areas, and I just said, no, there's no way. But these 2 are kind of out of the way and not really in the limelight. So I just wanted to bring it to the board and see if they were in favor of that. On top of the $1,200, any other clothes that go in there are weighed, and we'll get money for that as well.
That property on the top of Mearns, is that Orange and Rockland or is that?
That's what we're checking into.
It is.
It is orange.
Ours?
Yeah.
It's Orange and Rockland, so we'll double check with Orange and Rockland and make sure that,
Okay.
if not, then we don't put it there.
Okay.
So that's,
It sounds like a great spot.
We still get $50?
if we put it there, yeah,
somebody else's
we'll work that with Orange
property.
and Rockland. Work that- And Orange and Rockland can donate back to the village because they like us. We'll work that out with Orange and Rockland. If they don't, and they don't wanna pursue it, then I don't wanna put it up there.
Do we have an inventory of how many boxes are
Two.
already?
There are two of the I donate ones, and then the one that is in, with the fire department, that's been there forever.
Is
So
there
there's
no
one in
longer-
front of Rite Aid, and there's one over by the
Okay,
Hacienda.
Rite Aid. And Rite Aid is I donate also?
Yes, and they both go to those organizations, not to us. We get a donation from them for the clothes, a percentage for the clothes that comes in, but the actual money for putting the box down goes to those two individual groups, not to
And
us.
then the two churches,
The one church,
just
The
Holy
Holy
Holy Innocents. They have a separate box up there.
I would just.
So that's up to you guys.
I would just be hesitant to put them in a residential, you know, I mean, I would talk to some people there first, I mean, I think you're gonna, you know, I think if you put them up there, you're gonna get some complaints. I mean, I think you get complaints no matter what you do, but I would, you know, put them in as a residential area as opposed to the main drag.
And I don't know, Orange and Rockland has some negative, they just don't like stuff under the lines in case they need bucket trucks and stuff to get in and service towers and.
Well, that makes it easy then.
Yeah.
That's not, I'm not gonna fight for $50.
Yeah.
But if it's an easy $50 drop and everyone's comfortable with it, if we had negative feedback from the community, again, that's why I nixed the first 5.
Right.
Because I'm like, that's not worth the money for someone to stare
Is that
at.
over, they would wanna set it back on Fickens towards the,
I would say, no, that's up to us. It would be up to us where to put it there. I would set it back towards Fickens into the wood
only
area.
Fickens isn't ours, it's
Huh?
the schools.
Not Fickens, over by the Babe Ruth.
Little League?
Little League. I would set it up where they have the porta potties and stuff like that. But that's me. I mean, there could be another spot.
That would be.
Right, I'm looking for any opportunity to bring in revenue without compromising the village.
Right, but I mean, these things stick out like a sore thumb, that's the only, you know, that's the only problem.
Well, they're green and yellow. I think they might work back by the Little League field, just kind of put it up against a tree. We might get away with it. But,
Up on the hill.
so for right now, we're not gonna, I wanted to bring this up. I'd like the board members to take a look up there, double check, feel good about it. We'll bring it up next week, we'll either turn it up or turn it down. Okay? Did you wanna?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Laura Jamal, and I'm the Director of Wildlife and Recreation at West Point. Mayor Flynn asked me to come and just give you some information.
Hold on, if you could, direct it right to the camera, because we can hear you, but if you're facing us, the people at home may have a difficulty. I asked, I wanted to come in because there are some fantastic opportunities for our community, and also, we have brought a serious bridging possibility between our two communities, and I'm very excited about it, please.
Yeah, so what we'd like to do is have you help us let the community and the Highland Falls residents know what is available to them at West Point. So it's more a open gate policy, which the superintendent is really encouraging, unbeknownst to what you're going through, or we're all going through right now, trying to get in the gate if you don't have a sticker. But he is, and actually the Secretary of the Army is also encouraging an open post for not only residents, but general public. But for the residents of Highland Falls and the services we have to provide as far as the community, as sharing recreational facilities and programs, I'm gonna leave you some promotional material and take it and with some phone numbers here, a couple of flyers. The first thing we're gonna do, which is we're real excited about, is open up ski to the general public for season passes. There'll be a limited amount. They start going on sale on 16 December. And as well as Friday night skiing for anybody, a daily pass for anybody who wants to ski on Friday night. The bowling center, if you don't know it, is already open to the community here. And we have an agreement that, with the town, an MOA actually, memorandum of agreement, the town of Highland Falls, town of Highlands and West Point for bowling. Golf is open to the public, as you know. Morgan Farm, the stables and kennels are open to the public. And then all of our special events that we have Polar Fest, we have Oktoberfest, those are open to the general public. The club, now we understand that you've had some venues that have closed and are looking for places to have events. We not only have the West Point Club, which is a catering facility, but we have some off-premise facilities like the 49er Lodge, the train station, the ski slope when it's not ski season, the golf course when it's not golf season, for rental of for party facilities. And then we also have an agreement with the town for youth sports and our instructional programs for the youth. So I have phone numbers, I have flyers, and I have our MWR handbook that I'll leave with you. And if you would put them out, maybe downstairs for whatever's left over, pass them around.
The question, what about the skating rink?
The skating rink is something we can barely get our hands on from NWR because it's owned and operated by the Army Athletics Association. Right now, we have a policy, we probably could open this. I don't see any problem with opening our program, which is very limited. It's on Sunday afternoons, it's recreational skating. And so if it's open on a Sunday afternoon during the winter, and that is if they're not having a hockey game because they do preempt us. So, but for the most part, we try to get Sunday afternoons for recreational skating for the community, and I don't see a problem with that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And that, the reason why I wanted to come by was because there are a lot of opportunities that are right here. And one of the big things that I would love to see is a change in the mindset. One between the village and the town, where we are all part of the same town, but also West Point is part of our town. And this kind of sharing and this kind of usage just promotes better relations with all of our neighbors. And I really appreciate you coming by and giving us this information. So for those that don't understand, that's the ski slope will be open with limited season passes. So December 16th, if you're looking to do that, you want to get there soon. But Friday nights will be open to everyone. Obviously the bowling, for those that know, for those that don't know, bowling is open to the town, as well as the golf. But another big area that people may not have understood was the facility use. 49er Lodge, the ski slope when it's not being used, the golf course when it's not being used, the train station, all these facilities, rather than have to travel over the mountain to get because back in the day, when we had the Knights Hall, 2 fire stations, another 3 or 4 different areas, now really we have just the Highland Falls Fire. And if there's one event going on, there's no other room, it's done. So that being said, now we're able to have multiple events right here in our own community, which West Point is. And I thank you once again for coming down and giving us the information.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Another question. With these facilities, I am assuming that our local restaurants who do catering, they would be allowed on post to cater in these facilities?
You cannot cater into the club. The club
What's
does
that?
not take any outside food.
Or the bowling alley, right?
Or the bowling center, because they have their food operation. You can bring in your own catering and pay more if you rent those party facilities. But we'd rather have you cater from our on-post facilities or potluck. We're not going to stop anybody to do that.
But that is another good thing that I want to make sure people are aware of is, because that wasn't the case years ago, is that caterers with, paying the price to go in, our local caterers can now cater in several different buildings during this time. Again, availability, making sure you get there, before it's already
Well,
booked.
actually, I don't know if caterers know this, but this is something that we've cleared up. If you are a caterer in Highland Falls or off post, you can cater without going through any rigmarole, which we've recently kind of done away with, some bureaucracy, red tape. And if you're going to a private house or a private function, you do not have to have the paperwork that you had to have before. So that's good.
Excellent.
Okay, so we just adjourn.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Old business, Orange County Electric Consortium, after checking, we're still in a 2-year contract, 3-year contract, so that right at this particular time, it's not gonna pay off to shift into the Orange County Consortium, but we will keep that option open when this contract runs out. Moving into new business. I need a motion to approve the minutes as written, regular meeting November 4th, 2013. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Mr. DeSalvo, Mr. Brown. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So moved. I need a motion to cover the parking meters from Sunday, December 2013.
What's the date?
Sunday the first.
Sunday the 1st.
It's the first, yeah.
2013 to January the 1st, 2014. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Bob Mellon, seconded by Jim DeSalvo. All those in favor? Opposed? So moved. The appointment of Joe Mazzaris for parking enforcement officer with maximum probation at $12.35 an hour. Do I have a motion?
Oh, you
Yes.
do, definitely.
Have a motion, a definite motion by Charlie Murphy.
Second.
Do I have a second? Jim DeSalvo. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So moved. I need a motion to accept the funding of $600 from the Orange County Youth Program for the local DARE program.
So moved.
Motion by Jim DeSalvo, second by Trustee Brown. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. I have a facility request for the Fire Department Ladies Auxiliary for Municipal Lot 1 to set aside 30 parking spaces for vendors for the fundraiser on Saturday, December 7, 2013, from 11:30 to 5 p.m. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Brown, Mr. Salvo, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I have a training request for the wastewater treatment plant operator Johnny Jones and wastewater plant operator Jack Sibley to attend the New York Rural Water Association. You have the paperwork on that. If there's no questions, do I have a motion?
So, second.
Mr. Mellon, Charlie Murphy, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So move. Chemical addition for wastewater treatment, December 11th, 2013, in New Hampton, New York, at $17 PP.
No, that's that was with the wastewater.
It was, you're right. Fire Department request to take engine 429 and Chief's truck to Washingtonville, December 7th, for a Christmas parade.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Salvo, do I have a second? By Mr. Brown. All those in favor? Opposed? So move.
I would like to add that if we don't have enough participants, 429 will stay
We'll
here.
take 2-8. If we have the participants, we'll take 2-8 if we don't have enough to fill 2-9. And we'll leave that engine in the village.
In terms of how this can benefit the community, it's again more like a county-wide event. The trucks in this parade are decorated with lights, and I gather people from our community have gone to Washingtonville in the past and seem to think it's a wonderful event. So I hope more than just the fire department will participate.
Excellent. Do I have a motion to accept the bills and claims for year 13-14 for $42,744.71?
Pat, before we get the motion on that, is there any way we can take that one bill out and do it separately, vote on it separately?
I think so, right?
If you want.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay. So I'll make a motion.
I need a motion for the bills and claims for the year 13-14 for $42,744.71, with the exception of
The invoice for
25,
this,
minus
the-
25.
minus $2,500.
So it's $40,244.71.
Bam. All those in favor?
I'll second, I don't know if we'll second
I don't
this.
think it was second.
The motion?
Jim motion, Charlie seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
I do want to thank Pat Patterson. At one point, I know I made a statement about, especially when departments order tires, please let us know what vehicle they're going to. Pat has set up a wonderful schedule with 3 different quotes, and it's absolutely clear where those tires are going, so I appreciate it.
All right. I need a motion to approve the bill from Ron Klum for $2,500. Do I have a motion?
Motion for discussion.
Discussion? Go ahead.
Oh, there has to be a second.
Second?
Okay, when we appointed Mr. Magrita treasurer, it was with the understanding that he would not be requiring additional hours from our existing staff, nor would it cost more than our previous treasurer. I had asked about this previously, and it is my understanding that our previous treasurer did the same thing. So with that view in mind, I will stand behind the motion.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
I've made my point, I've made
can
my
I
points.
just interject one thing?
Sure.
For the board, it's very normal and customary, just like you get legal advice, just like you get engineering advice, that you get financial advice. And one of the things that I'd like to do is, if we need advice on things to prevent audits, that's the way to do it, okay? And not to get advice after the fact when you've been audited and then you have to respond, okay? And this is what I spoke to the mayor about. There are a lot of transactions that go on in a village. And the AUD, the law used to be, the previous treasurer was required to do the AUD if they were the treasurer of record. The problem with the state, what happened was, they couldn't get the treasurers to do it because they were gone. All the work that they did over that year, they couldn't get the AUDs done. So they changed the law and said that the new treasurer had to pick up the ball from the previous treasurer as far as accounting, financial accounting, and so on. The problem being is that when you inherit that, you don't have really any knowledge of transactions. You have to go by whatever research you can do. And the reality is, there are so many transactions that to be able to put your hands around it in a couple months of 12 months worth of work would be a disservice to the village to try to guess. So that's a good example of where you get financial advice to help cut through all the things that go on during a year to get to the bottom line so you can file these reports. Now, my predecessor used consulting, I'll use consulting. Everything that I do, I always brief the mayor on, and if there is anything that he has questions on or board has questions on, I'll be glad to answer. But my goal here and my job is to make sure that I do the best job I can for the village. And that will at times require financial opinions by people who are CPAs. I'm not a CPA, okay? So this is gonna be normal and customary, and it's not a mistake that the 04 line on the treasurer's line is at, I believe it's $25,000, okay? Because you need to have that cushion when situations come up where you need the backup, where you need the consulting information. So, very normal, very customary. If any board members have any questions, like I said, you don't have to wait till the board meeting. I'm easily accessible at any point.
And you'll stipulate to the fact that that line was put in by the previous treasurer.
The audit line is very customary. What was good about this time is the mayor decided to go out and canvass for new auditing companies. And what that allowed us to do is to lower the price of the cost of the auditors. Our previous treasurer used, as the mayor stated, about $1,000 to respond to the Office of State Comptroller, getting advice, which is, I'm not begrudging that. I think that you do need to get advice when you have situations like that. Just like you need to get advice when you inherit a year's worth of activities and you weren't here to see it. So when the budget gets put together, just like for engineers and lawyers and financial, you factor in the need to get professional advice. And I would say that if you don't do that, you're essentially relying on one person to have all the answers, and it's just not practical. If that was the case, then you wouldn't need an engineer to give you advice, the department heads wouldn't need an engineer, and you wouldn't need legal advice either, because between the 5 board members, you can figure out what you want to do. So this is very standard, and in the upcoming budget, there'll be an expectation that there'll be some consulting services that would be needed to get the right answer, to make sure that we're protecting the village taxpayer. Okay?
Question.
Mr. Brown?
It is appropriate to ask you a question in reference to the treasurer at the meeting. It doesn't have to be email or anything like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely, it's appropriate, but a lot of times, you can get a quick answer if it's a question that you don't really, well, at the end of the day, questions can be asked at any time. What I'm saying is there's a lot that goes on the agenda, there's a lot of public interest stuff, some basic treasurer questions, you can ask me directly, you don't have to wait for meetings.
Since we're trying to discuss this up here, first thing is that the budget line for that particular audit line has always been for the annual audit that the village undergoes, whether it would be Nugent Hausler or any other company that the village seemed fit to hire. And there was always a little extra in that account, just in case we ran into any issues during the audit period, which is what we're going through right now. That's the first thing. Second thing is I've been on the board for going on 5 years now, and this is the first time that I've ever seen the treasurer get monies for the annual report that is filed by the treasurer. Now, we can go back and forth, I have a total disagreement with you. It's just the bottom line.
That's fine.
It's not a question of you were checking on to see if a law was properly, proper, and you called like New York's Conference of Mayors, or, you wanted to check a calculation and you wanted to see what the regular, GPA, CPA guidelines are. It was 23 hours worth of work, and so to me, that seems like, he probably did most of it for us.
Mr. DeSalvo,
But I don't know, and I'm not saying they did.
Have you read an annual update document, have you read one?
Have I read one? Sure.
Yes. So you know the contents of how it's processed and how it's put together?
I wasn't hired as the treasurer.
Well, I know, but you're making
But
comments.
I wasn't hired as the treasurer,
All right,
sir.
I'll
And
leave
to be
this-
honest with
I'll
you,
leave
it's a
this-
discussion for the board right now.
Sure.
That's the motion that's on the table.
That's
So
fine.
I'm just saying, I wanted it excluded, I appreciate you for excluding it, because I'm probably gonna vote no. That's my feelings, I disagree with the treasurer, and that's it.
Okay, that's good enough.
Okay?
I have Charlie, you making the motion?
I made the motion, yes.
Making the motion, do I have a second?
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Are you making a motion to pay the bill?
Pay the bill. Yes. Do I have a second?
We have
Second
roll call.
second by Mr. Mellon. All those in favor?
Do we have a roll call, please?
No. All those in favor?
I'm calling for
Aye.
a roll call, you don't have the authority to not have a roll call.
No, I haven't actually checked the NICOM book, I think that's okay. I'll call for a vote, and you can say no, and then it'll be noted you voted no.
Okay.
All those in favor of paying the bill? You can say aye if you want to. All those in favor of paying the bill? Aye. All those in favor of not paying the bill?
No.
Mr. DeSalvo and Mr. Brown voted no. Bill will be paid. Do we have any public comment?
Right here.
But the one thing, because I'm not going to, we're gonna have a discussion with the board during exec. After looking at NICOM and talking to NICOM, I know that in the past, things have been somewhat loose. I'm asking that we follow procedure, and that is to be recognized before you come up. So when you ask for comment, let me know that you want comment, and you'll be recognized. This way, if there's not 8 people raising their hand, and 8 people all of a sudden get up, this is something that I after talking to NICOM, I would like to follow the proper procedure. So if you want to get up, ask to be recognized, and then move to the place. Yes.
Mervyn Lipsky, Highland Falls. Just first on the closed drop-off container, I think maybe you'd be better off having it up by the water treatment plant, have a site out in mind. I think that'd be a better place to have it, than in the dark parking lot. It just bothers me that sitting in there. Also, just to clarify one thing from what I'm hearing tonight about the village treasurer, just to clarify this, then he has the right to take expenditures out of his account without the board's consent.
He has parameters within his budget. Yes.
So he could take, I can remember a few meetings back, I thought there was a motion passed either 300 or 500 on all departments that needs to come before the board members.
It's called a transfer.
Is
That's
that
for a
correct?
transfer. That's for a transfer. This was not a transfer.
Okay, so
This
then.
was an expense.
So then the treasurer has a right to hire and spend expenditures without
Yes.
village board members' consent.
It's similar to when I'll use the police department, has a budget of this, or a fire department's even easier,
Right.
has a budget of $65,000 arbitrarily, okay? Once the budget's passed, it's up to the fire department, the fire chief, and their group to spend the money. If they had a line item of $4,000 for a certain thing, and it cost $4,200, they don't come back to the board and go, this costs 42 and not 4, because it's still within the $65,000 of their budget. That's similar to all the departments. We were looking for them to adhere to what they've put forward, and he is still way within his budget, and that is his job to pursue that.
I understand that, and I understand it, and I think it's a good thing, asking for advice and finding out what's going on, something of that importance. But I just can't go along that somebody has, because that's in their line, they have the right to hire somebody. And if all of you didn't even know this, correct?
It's been going on for the treasurer for years.
What I'm saying with this particular
I know it.
one, nobody knew that this individual was hired by the village treasurer.
It's,
That just sort of just puts a dark shadow on, how can you have somebody hired working for the village with something, with something as of importance of that, being a board member, not knowing this, that this is taking place right now, and then there's an expense of this of $2,500, and you actually just eyed the motion to pass this expense without not even realizing of meeting this individual, or really even knowing what he did. I don't know how you could do that.
because it's called micromanaging, and we don't do that here because our department heads, we trust our department heads and they do what they do.
Okay.
That the treasurer has been doing that for years, and he's been hiring who he needed to, and asking for advice and spending the money. And that's what's been going on for years.
I just think as a village board and being a board member and under your oath, you should know about these expenditures that are being paid, who's being hired, and what expenses are being put out there.
And we do, we just got the bill,
Yeah.
and 3 people voted to say it was okay,
That's-
and 2 people voted said they didn't think it was okay.
And that would be terrific if this procedure was going to start now. But if this is after it.
That's
I
our
just-
treasurer's job, to take care of the books, and he's doing it very well.
As a village taxpayer, I would think that the board would want to have more knowledge on this. Thank
You
you.
know what, we've been using this word transparent, well, ever since I can remember.
Exactly.
And right now, I
Understanding.
can't see where it's being transparent.
You're
That's
correct.
why I asked, was it accurate to ask the questions here at the meeting, so the public can know what's going on, instead of emailing? Because a lot of times you don't have time to email, sometimes you have to ask the question at the meetings.
Just to be clear, Mr. Brown, at no time did our treasurer say that he didn't want questions asked at the meeting. What he did relay was, if there are questions, you are more than welcome to contact him at any time. You don't have to wait till the meeting. You're more than welcome to bring up anything at the meeting.
But sometimes I might just be looking at the bills, the claims, at the meeting.
And that's fine, and you can ask the question,
That's when I ask the question.
and that's fine.
That's my point.
Any other comment? Yes?
Shea Webley, Chief of Fire Department. I would just like to ask the board to consider the fact when you think about closing the top of Veterans Way, that we use that to get sometimes to the other end of the village without having to go through Main Street with trucks when it's congested. And that would seriously limit our response.
That's an excellent point. And these are the things that we're going to need to make a decision. That's huge.
Snow removal.
So, that would be Pat.
Yeah.
This is again, we're not pouring any concrete tomorrow.
Well, I
This
think
is an
that's-
idea that needs to be brought up, and I thank you.
that's
for bringing
a
that.
consideration for me.
That's an excellent point. Thank you, John. Any other comment? Yes?
I just
Sandy Capriglione. And I just wanted to read something. It's from, and it's ironic, Mayor Flynn, that you talked about the Board of Ethics, because this is from the Ethics Code for the Village of Highland Falls. And it says, in the light of a tendency today on the part of some people to downgrade our local governments and to discredit our public servants and our free institutions generally, it appears necessary that every effort be made to assure the highest caliber of public administration of this village as part of our state's important system of local government. The reason I bring this up is because something very disturbing for me happened just before the recent election, and it came in the form of a letter that you wrote, and you wrote it on, as mayor, and it says a note from the mayor. I have some questions about it. First of all, did the board okay that? Did the board know
No.
about it?
No,
Then, and was it distributed to every village resident?
as many as I can get to.
Okay. Was it at any time used or village funds used?
No.
Okay. When we live in a free country and we all have a right to our opinion, you as mayor should have written this, if you found it necessary, on as a resident, not as the mayor. You are the highest elected official in the village. And what you wrote, some of it's untrue.
What's untrue?
Do you want to really go there now?
If you like.
I don't really want to because I
Well,
don't
if
think
you're
it's
calling me a
necessary.
liar, then why don't we just
I'm
point
not
out?
calling you a liar. I'm saying
If
what
I
you
wrote
put
it and
down
it's
here.
untrue,
I'm saying what you put down on this piece of paper isn't true.
I believe it is, or I wouldn't put it on the piece of paper.
Okay. But you acted as a note from the mayor and Patrick Flynn, mayor of Highland Falls. Were you representing this board? And
I was
really,
representing myself, that's why I didn't say the village board. I said the mayor.
well, you used the word "we" in a lot of sentences.
And is anywhere on there that I say village board?
No, but you said
No.
"we," and as mayor, "we" could only be taken as you and the board.
No,
You
it'd be taken as
represent
we
the
as
board.
citizens.
Well, I differ with that, and.
Well, that's your opinion.
And as far as the ethics, you discredited, and you did downgrade some of the public servants that were currently in office and running as.
I pointed out deficiencies.
Right.
That's unethical?
No, not
To give people
deficiencies.
information?
No, then why wasn't it given to every resident?
As many as I
in the
could,
village?
as many as I could,
Well,
time-wise.
but you can't do it both ways. You can't say that
There's
you're.
nothing unethical about that.
Well, I'd like the board to read it and
That's fine.
see how they feel about it. Because to me, it is unethical.
How?
And especially to put it out just before the election.
How is it unethical?
Because some of the stuff you have in here is not even true. You talk about dirt from these contaminated areas is not only being moved from Fort Montgomery, but also being dumped in Highland Falls. Do you have any reports that dirt is contaminated?
That the dirt from the project is contaminated?
The nonsense that you allowed to go on.
Do you have any legal reports of that?
I did not.
Do you have any
first of-
legal reports
Excuse
of
me,
that?
thank you.
Do you?
No, sir.
Okay, good
You can
answer.
quiet down.
Good answer.
No, you will not speak out of turn.
Well,
That's what I'm saying. Another outburst, Chief Scott will escort you out.
oh, okay.
Well, then I would like to
Excuse me,
ask
ma'am.
you, do you have any reports that say that is?
What it says is
contaminated dirt?
was there not contaminated soil?
I read you the sentence that you wrote
Right.
in here.
And I'm
And there are a
saying
lot
that
of other
dirt from that
sentences.
project came to Highland Falls, and we are concerned about it, yes.
Is there a report that says it's contaminated?
That's why the project's being done.
Is there a report that you have that says that dirt that's being moved from Fort Montgomery to Highland Falls is contaminated?
I will have to locate it for you.
Okay, so it's a maybe.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So therein lies just one thing that I am concerned about, that you, as you
So
put
the
this out.
MTB project, you don't feel there's contaminated soil?
I do, but
Oh, you
I'm
do.
talking about what you put in here.
Well, if you feel there's
specific- you
contamination-
You targeted certain residents and certain voters.
No, I didn't.
Okay. It didn't go out to the whole village. It just went out to certain
Because
areas.
you know why? Because I didn't use village facility or village resources, and it was me that had to do it
Well,
and I only
then-
had so much time.
Well, sir, then if you didn't, then you shouldn't have signed it as mayor. You should
That's-
have
I can
signed
sign
it
it.
as concerned
I
resident
have-
Patrick Flynn.
That's not true. I have the right.
I'm sorry.
Free speech. I have the right to
Absolutely free
sign it how
speech.
I want to sign it.
Absolutely free speech, but you also hold the highest office in elected
Yes?
office in the village.
What's unethical about voicing my opinion?
You have a certain responsibility to every village resident.
I agree.
So if you're going to do something so irresponsible,
That wasn't irresponsible at all.
well, I'm gonna
That's
beg
your
to differ
opinion.
with you. But
That's
I would
your
like to
opinion.
know if there is any protocol going forward, going in the future. If any board member has a problem with the mayor sending something out note from the mayor, signed Patrick Flynn, mayor, with things that obviously aren't.
I'll tell you what I'll do. And I understand your concern.
I know
What I'll do is-
I just wanna let you know, in other towns and villages, that's not allowed to happen.
Okay. What I will do is I will contact NICOM.
I would
I
very
will
much
contact
appreciate
NICOM and I
that.
will have an answer for you.
Okay,
If you want to make sure you leave your number with our clerk,
okay,
and I will get back to you on that, okay?
okay, thank you very
Fantastic.
much.
Yes,
Mr. Mayor, I'm speaking as a private citizen in Maria. Just for the record, you can contact NICOM, but at the end of the day, elected officials endorse all the time. Mr. Cornwall recently endorsed, Mr. Schumer recently endorsed. It's very common for elected officials to endorse with their name, with their title, and it's not unethical. Certainly, if you do refer to NICOM, you get the same answer, but just for the record, because I'm hearing this nonsense, and I felt I had to say something.
Okay.
Thank you.
May we go back and forth?
excuse me, no, we're not going to go back and forth.
Okay.
Please sit down.
Then we know where this comes from.
Excuse me. Yes, he was next. This is why I don't want people just standing up and catcalling. Raise your hand, be recognized, and you will have a chance to speak. Please.
You're correct. I read that letter myself, that you as the mayor representing the community put your name underneath. And I can tell you right now, accusations that you have in that letter, you said maybe, and I would appreciate if you would put that in the village minutes. Okay, well, this is all recorded anyway. Mr. Flynn, I'll tell you this, okay, as a village resident, shame on you. Shame on you as a mayor. You ought to turn that around.
I appreciate your
Shame on
thoughts.
you.
You're the one who received the dirt from Fort Montgomery, correct,
Shame
Mr.
on
Lizzie?
you. No, I didn't. I received it from Greg Moore.
From Fort Montgomery.
You were at this meeting.
Yes.
You were at this meeting, and it is
Yes,
from
I
Greg
was.
Moore.
From-
And as a matter of fact, Mr. Flynn, okay,
I appreciate you being here, Mr.
Patrick,
Lizzie. Excuse me,
okay,
you're done with your comments now, thank you. You're done, sir.
it's public comment.
That's right, and it's my meeting, and according to NICOM, that's exactly who runs the meeting. And I checked with this to make sure, so
Okay,
there weren't any outbursts.
You're not gonna be
You made your
transparent.
comment.
You're not gonna be transparent.
I'm honest and transparent, I'm waiting for this young lady to make her comments.
I would just like to make sure that when you do contact NICOM,
Yes.
maybe you could fax them a copy of your letter
Sure.
and ask them to respond to it. Not just some vague question, but ask them to respond specifically to that letter.
Thank you for your thoughts. Jim?
I have a question as a taxpayer. It's related to the sidewalks on Main Street that run from the old bowling alley down to Undiora Park. And then I have a question as JAT Contracting doing work at the sewer treatment plant. And as I understand it, that part of it needs to go in executive session. Okay, so with regard to the sidewalks, we discussed this for 2 or 3 years, and I'm hoping that we've made some progress on possibly putting sidewalks down to Mr. Aristotel's property.
I appreciate your comment. We have, I've been talking to Pat about first step, at least a crosswalk from one side to the other where there is no sidewalks on Hogan's property, where the sidewalk ends. At least to start there, which would cost us very little to no money, in comparison to putting the sidewalks in. Unfortunately, when there was a project, sidewalks to schools, didn't make it, the grant didn't make it happen. I agree, that's something that we have to pursue hard. We have a lot of kids coming off the hill when it's dark, and that is a priority. We did talk to our engineers about the entire south side, because if we could put it in that kind of a project with the the sewer and everything else, it would help. My only fear is that if that project is coming and we do the sidewalks, how much are we gonna rip up? Again, fresh sidewalk. But if we find money out there, without question, we're gonna move on it. But again, I would love to talk to you as a contractor as well on that.
Is that not the state responsibility, being adjacent to the state road, Old 218?
I'll have to look into that, but the problem being, we have a project right now on Mearns that we already got funding for from the state, and that's 10 years behind, they're still holding on our money. The state's not really, that's not really forthcoming with the money, but that's something I will check on for you, okay?
Yeah, and I don't, not to cut you off, Pat, I think that avenue has been explored before. And, dealing with DOT, and Pat brought up a perfect example, the south end of Mearns is just, the clock just keeps ticking. The money's sitting in the bank, DOT has it, we just can't get our hands on it. And the other thing with the school, with the sidewalks, I think it was an issue with funding for transportation, if we had the sidewalks there, because technically kids could walk to school then. And that's the reason why I think the school didn't get on board with that, from what I understand from Deborah Jackson.
But that's unfortunately, and that's not a dead issue.
No.
Because unfortunately, the sidewalks to school program would, it's my understanding that if we did sidewalks to school, that would take some of their funding away for busing. But if we got the money through a different grant,
Right.
we can still put the sidewalks in, and it would not affect the money they get for busing. So that's the avenue that we're trying for right now.
Just couldn't use that one particular grant.
So, and the grants, unfortunately, talking to 2 or 3 of the engineers, the grants are coming less and less. That's something that we're gonna end up, and if you would push the issue, that's something we may end up having to budget for in the next 2 to 3 years, putting in, whether we do it in sections or whatnot, getting a number, figuring it out, because that is a need. And I thank you for continuing to champion that. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mayor, I'd just like to say something.
We're gonna go to board comments. We can start that right now with you, my friend.
Yeah, this is about Tim Doherty again. I hate to bring it up, and I'm glad to wait.
Can we, is this something for exec now?
No,
Okay.
no, I want the public to hear this the same as they just got to hear. You told me when I looked at that about Tim Doherty, remember you told me that? And you just mentioned the word freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned that word.
Mm-hmm.
And when I wrote that letter, I was expressing my opinion about Tim Doherty.
Right?
So what was the difference in you telling me that I put the village at risk of being sued because of that letter I wrote?
Because he's an employee of the village.
I wouldn't care what he was, but he did wrong, and like I said, I was not a lawyer, but as far as I was concerned, he should not have gone back to work.
I understand what you're saying, but I got the word from the lawyer, that's what I expressed to you.
Well, you know what? That lawyer, I don't care what he said. As far as I'm concerned, he was wrong. And he should not have been going back to work until the investigation was over. That's the way I feel. But my point is, you said freedom of speech, but I was only expressing my feeling about the way I felt about that.
I understand what you're
Same
saying.
thing
Right.
that you just told her about.
Right, I understand that. I gave your comments because I was concerned about legality to the lawyer.
Well, it was
And he
nothing.
expressed, because it is a,
There was nothing in that letter. I didn't violate anyone's rights. I didn't threaten no one. So what was in that letter that I wrote that was gonna possibly put the village at risk?
I'm not a lawyer, Mr. Brown, I was told by the lawyer, and that's what I expressed to you. And was there any penalties in it? No. I expressed to you what the lawyer said, and the beautiful thing about this country is, you can put another letter in, and you can put another letter in, and another letter in. But I was telling you that the
Right.
lawyer, not me, the lawyer says, be careful of being risked, because he's an employee.
But
And that's why we discuss it in executive session.
But I don't see why I had to be walking on stone, glass, or whatever, because I wrote that letter, and he did worse than I did.
Mr. Brown, I didn't make that
The
determination.
lawyer couldn't see that?
I didn't make that determination.
I didn't threaten the kids, I didn't, in the racial slur, I could overlook that, but the way, the words he put in, the blood would be worse than, and this
Mr.
had
Brown,
just
please.
happened, this had just happened a few months ago.
If you want, you're more than welcome to call a lawyer and talk to him directly.
And like I told you before, I don't need Ben to tell me anything about my opinions.
Okay,
And a letter I write, I don't need him to give me an opinion like that.
okay.
And I'm still upset over that. And like I was just listening to you telling her tonight about your freedom of speech and what
Correct.
you was able to, what you were able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was doing. The lawyer can't, I don't have to write the lawyer and ask him to tell me about my opinion that I want to express.
That's up to you, Mr. Brown. We do hire the lawyer for that, to protect the village, to make
And I-
sure that we're not gonna be sued.
And I was very careful when I put it in that anyway.
Okay, well, I'm just all I did was relay to you what the lawyer told me, Mr. Brown. That's it. And again, you're more than welcome to talk to him directly.
I don't
If
want
you
to
have
talk,
issues
I
with
don't
him.
want to talk to him.
Okay, that's fine. Charlie?
Well, a couple lighter notes. The library bazaar is coming up this Saturday. Another good piece of information, this year we stopped renting oxygen bottles for the police
Excellent.
department. And I believe my number is correct, we have expended exactly $14 since July on oxygen instead of monthly.
Nice job. Very good.
Nice job, Chief.
And another item that is going to be labor intensive is we've gotten some of the material from HUD in order to do a new census to try to verify median household income, so we will be eligible someday for grants. The one thing holding me back from launching into this census taking is to get some response from the state saying that they too will accept the information if we go to this legwork. Because right now HUD is using the old census, so getting the federal dollars, this won't make an impact, but if we're able to get that upper number down for median household income with the state, it will be a good thing. I have a couple other things, but they can wait.
Jim?
I think we said enough tonight.
Bob?
I'm just, is Jim in our?
He is.
Okay, the executive session, the engineer and all that, that's, we'll talk about it then.
Just a quick reminder, Holy Innocents is looking for volunteers, 446-2197, Reverend Judy. That's for the Thanksgiving Day dinner. The food drive, if anyone's looking to help out, you're more than welcome to call 446-2020, Children's Channel Network. We're dropping off bags this week, collecting on Sunday. PTF food baskets are at My Town Market. I'd like to thank Albert and his family once again for sponsoring that. And they will turn that after Thanksgiving over to the, a box for the toys, for the toy drive. And the Christmas dinner, still looking for volunteers. And November 23rd, 8:30, bottom of the library, Vision is doing their decorating of Highland Falls. Yes, Jim.
Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, any other comments from the board? Alrighty, thank you very much. I need a motion to move in executive session.
So moved.
Mr. Salvo, Mr. Mellon, all those in favor? Opposed? So moved. Thank you very much for coming.